Welcome to Autism Knows No Borders, a podcast where people connected to autism inspire change and build community. Together with the Global Autism Project, I'm your host, Rachel Harmon, a professional with over a decade of experience in the field of autism services, outreach, and advocacy. In many places around the world where autism services and awareness are limited, center owners have to compete with other businesses who claim to provide certain therapies, while in reality, they're not qualified. Oftentimes, legitimate autism centers must also deal with increasing turnover rates because they can't properly compensate their certified clinicians for the high demands of their job. Meanwhile, parents feel overwhelmed and confused as they try to distinguish quality services from those that can be ineffective at best and harmful at worst, sometimes, unfortunately, making the wrong choice. After witnessing firsthand this hugely consequential problem over the last 2 decades, the Global Autism Project has come up with a solution. Whether you're a center owner, a professional looking for a job, or a family member of an autistic loved one, you'll want to listen to this episode where our CEO, Molly Ola Pinney, makes our most exciting announcement to date, the launch of Global Autism Accreditation. She also explains how this opportunity for centers to become accredited through the only international-focused accreditor will revolutionize autism services on a global scale. In this conversation, among other things, we discuss how over 20 years of working internationally has prepared us for this moment, what defines a global autism center of distinction, why accreditation matters, and the path to accreditation and who should apply. In this episode, discover what's possible when children have a safe place to learn. And now, I present you, Molly Ola Pinney. Hey, Molly, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's always cool to be here. Although today I'm a little extra excited about what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. And we have this exciting announcement that we have been hyping up and just really ready to share with the world we've been ready for a while. And so now the day has finally come.
Yeah.
So take it away. What is the big announcement?
The big announcement, the announcement you've all been waiting for, is that today the Global Autism Project is launching Global Autism Accreditation.
What does that mean? What does accreditation actually mean?
So accreditation is distinct from a credential, right? And I just want to take a minute and give some context, shift back a little bit to where we were when the organization started. First of all, the BACB was credentialing internationally. In 2020, a lot of things changed, and that was one of the things that changed. In their place, 2 other organizations began credentialing internationally, and that is the IBAO and the QABA. There has not been any effort to accredit internationally. So credentialing is for the individual, accreditation is for the center. I think that's the biggest distinction to really understand. And that's why it makes sense for the Global Autism Project to be the organization providing this accreditation. As a quick reminder, for 21 years, we have worked internationally with centers around the world. Our focus has been on doing just that, building capacity for services. A lot of our center owners are QABAs, they were BCBAs back in the past, they're IBAs, and now they have an opportunity to show the world that not only do they have credentialed team members, but the center itself meets global standards for accreditation.
Yeah, amazing. And we'll talk about what those standards are in just a little bit.
Absolutely.
So going back to this kind of timeline, we've been doing this work for 21 years now. And, accreditation has kind of been in the making for, the last however many.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that process and why we're now finally ready?
Yeah, it's a great question. In a lot of ways, I feel like the Global Autism Project has been ahead of its time in that, when we started in 2003, we started because I went on the internet looking for somebody who provides international training and could not find it. And I always explained this was a dial-up internet connection in 2003 from West Africa. But, I even went to conferences and things like that, and people just really were not working at scale internationally. So the organization itself has always been a bit ahead of its time. In 2012, we started to have this discussion. So about 12 years ago now, this discussion started. This was prior to any domestic efforts for accreditation. The BHCOE, of course, started in 2015. So in 2012, we were having conversations and starting to develop tools to figure out what is a center of distinction? What is a center that we feel comfortable kind of putting a stamp on, frankly, And I think it was one of those things where we wanted to make sure that we got it right. We didn't want to kind of sit here and just write up some standards and say, you need to adhere to these. We wanted to be really mindful of what was happening in the world for autism centers in general, what information made sense to include. And so we created a tool that we called the SASE, which was the Site Assessment Survey for Sustainable Intervention. And we ran that tool for over a decade with close to 20 centers. And in running that tool, we gathered a whole lot of data. And with gathering that data, we were able to come up with, okay, what does it mean to be a center of distinction in a way that is responsive to cultures around the globe?
Right. And so now, over the last 12 years, we've refined it and we have found that there is a space, there's a need.
Yeah.
A lot of our international partners want this accreditation because it will help them stand out in their community.
Absolutely.
So can you talk a little bit about why accreditation matters?
Yeah, of course. I think if you've been working internationally for 20 years, I always say I've seen it all. And then I feel like we go somewhere else and I'm like, well, I've seen it all minus that thing. There are all kinds of efforts happening internationally. Some of them are quality efforts. Some of them are evidence-based. Some of them are truly improving lives. Some of them are not. Some of them are not effective at best and harmful at worst. And for a family in another country navigating getting services for their kids, looking on the internet, trying to figure this out, trying to unravel all of this, they don't have any kind of way to tell the difference between a center that says they're doing great things, but they're actually not, and a center that says they're doing great things and they actually are. And this has been a frustration of our partners around the world for 20 years. They start their center, they're providing services, and then somebody else starts a center with no training and no support and no community, and they start the center and they're now having to compete, and there's nothing to say what really sets them apart. And that's been a challenge that our partners have brought up to us for years, which is why we started this conversation 12 years ago. So, I think one of the things is that with an accreditation, it is a vetted provider of quality services. You're able to explain to local families, yes, we've had this training, and yes, we also have been vetted and proven that we provide quality services here. It increases the awareness in the community and in the country in general. Receiving the Global Autism Accreditation is a very big deal. It's a very robust process that you go through. And we're working closely with not only the centers, but also media in different countries to let them know, hey, there's an accredited center. So it provides that opportunity as well. Accreditation can contribute really to exponential growth and training. And now people know where in the community they can get that training and development. And I think more importantly than anything else, it lets people know that there's not only a safe place for their autistic family member, but a place where that person can thrive and develop. It is not limited to early intervention or even ABA centers. This accreditation is designed to provide assurance to anybody in the world who's looking for quality, effective resources for their autistic family member.
Yeah. And so what kind of defines a global autism center of distinction? What are some of those standards?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because, again, this conversation started pre any domestic efforts for accreditation. We developed the tool, we tested the tool, we used it over, a decade with different centers. And we realized that there are some really important considerations internationally that aren't necessarily considerations domestically. Everything from infrastructure to the building, things that we may kind of take for granted stateside, we're not necessarily taking for granted internationally. So, a few different things. One is that they're really clear in their strategy and focus. We find a lot of times that centers around the world, because they really kind of do have to be everything to everyone, that can sometimes stop them from having the clarity to actually provide effective services because they're just doing everything at once. This is not to say that they can't be multifaceted, that they can't do other things. A lot of our centers, the services kind of grow with the kids. And when they do that, they do tend to have other offerings. We want to make sure, though, that there's still clarity in the strategy and focus. While it is not ABA specific, and we have speech therapists and OTs and anyone else who serves the autistic community is eligible to apply for this accreditation, we do want to ensure that they're engaging in clinical best practices. A really important consideration of a center of distinction that we have sadly seen end centers around the world is financial sustainability. It is vital that these centers are financially sustainable. In countries where people have very few resources and you want to be able to provide services, there's often an instinct or a desire to provide services at no cost. And while that can be an important part of your strategy, and you can do that internationally, you have to make sure that there's something else to ensure that you're financially sustainable. We have something in there about marketing your services and marketing them effectively so that the community understands what it is that you do and what it is that you do not do. We have worked in centers around the world where, because of how autism is understood in the community, they are not able to safely put the word autism on anything that they do. Now, as the community kind of grows and learns more, we see that shift and change. A center of distinction has created that change in their community so that they are able to maintain a public profile. And we've been, again, running this scorecard, running this assessment for the past decade. And so that scorecard, that assessment has become the basis of this global accreditation.
Great. And so what is the path to accreditation if a center owner or director is interested? What would they need to do to get going with the application process?
Yeah, so there's a lot more details on our website, of course. And the high level is there's an online application process that then comes to our team. You are then assigned to an auditor who's going to work with you and throughout the entire process, check all of the boxes that need to be checked, all of the systems, watch videos, et cetera. The beauty of the Global Autism Project running this is that we have relationships all over the world. And so we then have local people who are assigned to different regions of the world who are our regional accreditation specialists. And those people will come in for the final kind of walk through, make sure that everything is what it says it is, all that good stuff, and also build relationships and meet more people. Part of what we're doing with this is really expanding our network of providers. And if you apply for accreditation and you go through the process of accreditation and for some reason you don't yet meet criteria, well, for one thing, you're now going to know exactly why you met or didn't meet criteria, because everybody who goes through the process is going to get a detailed report of the findings throughout the process. So that's going to be really helpful in and of itself. And then, of course, if this is something that you as a center want to be able to meet the criteria for, and you want to receive training and you want to receive the clinical training and the business training, that's what we do at the Global Autism Project. That's how we build capacity, by training in the clinical practices as well as the administrative practices needed to run a thriving organization. Well, this is the official announcement. Obviously, Rachel, you and I have spoken about this at a few conferences around the world. And I think what's been most exciting and most encouraging is that every single time we mention it to anybody, the immediate response is, oh, we need that. Oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really important. Oh, when does that start? And what I'm very excited to share is that starts today. Our website is live. We are up. We are good to go. We are ready to accept your application and get to know you. A lot of times people say, is this just for your partner sites? No, absolutely not. While the Global Autism Project was an idea ahead of its time, and for a long time was one of very few opportunities to receive international training, that thankfully is no longer the case. And there's a lot of great work happening internationally with training, international consultants. It's really shifted in 20 years, right? And so, no, you are absolutely not required to be a Global Autism Project partner site. Our partner sites do meet the criteria because that's what we train people to do, but you are not required to be a partner site to receive accreditation. This is open literally to the world.
Okay. Great. Well, all of this is super exciting, and I'll put a link directly to our accreditation page in our show notes so people who are interested can go straight there and learn more.
Yeah. And I just want to close by saying thank you to our partners around the world who have been part of this process. Thank you to our team, of course. But, we talk about doing with and not for, and this process has been no exception. Our partners have been a big part of this for many years, and we're really excited to see it finally coming together.
Thanks for tuning in to Autism Knows No Borders. Do you own or manage an autism center committed to providing high-quality services? By meeting specific standards of excellence, your center can be identified as a regional leader in autism services while building local capacity in your community. Apply for Global Autism Accreditation today and become a center of distinction. Details can be found at globalautismproject.org/accreditation. Thanks for listening. Take care.